Hello, welcome back to the Cricket Nerds. James and Zach here, and we're going to be talking about day 2 of the first Test match between England and India. And wow, India have really put the hammer down. The headlines are that England's four-spin attack isn't great. Mark Wood barely bowled, and then KL Rahul and Ravi Jadeja have absolutely put England to the sword. Um, don't know what else there is to say, really. So I'm going to hand over to you. Oh, no, I do know what else there is to say. Thank you so much for 3,000 subscribers. We've hit a big
Yay.
milestone on the channel. So that is absolutely awesome. Um, yeah. So if you haven't subscribed already, please do subscribe because it is, we're trying to grow the channel. 2024 is the year of the nerds. So you've got to help us out. Yeah, we'd love to get to 4,000. That would be absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, like, subscribe, and also become a member, become a certified cricket nerd. You saw all their names at the start of the video. So, yeah, they're absolute legends. We'll talk about them at the end. But, yeah, right, over to you, Zach. What are your feelings today?
Well, it's a hard day for an England fan and a England player, I guess, given that they would have started the day with a slight bit of optimism, thinking we get a few early, then we might be in with a chance of India getting a slight lead. But it turned out that we did get one wicket early, and that kind of we didn't really get any more. Um, but it was hard because England's bowlers, there's such a massive disparity between the England spinners and the Indian spinners. It's just very clear to see. And that is going to be the major talking point, I think, for the whole series is how are England spinners coping versus the Indian spinners? Because batting wise, I don't think there's too much in the sides. Obviously, India have a very strong batting lineup and they're well suited to playing at home. But just looking at the sides on paper, I feel like England could, with their Basball methods, make as good scores as India if the bowling was the same, which it
Hmm.
obviously isn't. Um,
It'd be really interesting, actually. Now that you've said that, I'm in my head thinking, what if they just swapped the bowlers?
yeah,
Like that's all they did, or the Indian bowlers just have to bowl against both sides.
yeah.
I wonder how they do because yeah, India is so much better in the bowling department at the moment.
Mm,
I thought even Mark Wood didn't look hasn't looked great at all. You know, he's barely bowled,
mm,
and the few deliveries that he has bowled have been on the pads a lot. It seems like he doesn't really know what he's doing when he's opening the bowling because when he's bowling as like I don't know his first change or second change bowler, it seems like he knows what his role is, and it's obviously he plays the enforcer very well because he's super fast. But when he then pitches it up and he's going sort of on a hard length or even length deliveries, he can get a fair bit of movement and he's quite accurate. And when he's bowling like that, it seems like he'd be really good at opening.
mm.
But then I think as the sole seamer, I think maybe the weight of responsibility was too heavy on his shoulders, and it's
Yeah.
been really weird, hasn't it?
The best spell that he bowled was his last spell, and that was by the time when England were already out of it, pretty much. Let's talk about the Indian batsmen because they have played incredibly well. Um,
Mhm.
there's been obviously Jaiswal's innings yesterday didn't last too long today, but Kerr Rahul coming in at number 4, I don't think he's ever played that position in Test match cricket before, but he just owned it really, and took the sword to England and really countered. And then Ravi Jadeja, he's just so consistent to have someone who is a first choice spinner in any team in the world, and then to also back it up as being just a steady, consistent player with the bat. He's just a very, very strong player, especially coming in at number 6. Shrikar Barrett seems very strong coming off the back of his knocks for the England Lions. So there were just solidarity throughout that Indian batting, and it was hard to see how England were going to get wickets. Um, how did you find the dismissals though, because I reckon India, the batsmen, are all going to be quite disappointed with their dismissals today.
I'd be inclined to agree with you actually. I think you know, if like looking through, Jaiswal gave his wicket away. Gill gave his wicket away. KL Rahul gave his wicket away. Um, Shreyas Iyer, I'd say he gave his wicket away.
You could
Um,
argue that Stricker Barrett as well, he just read the line wrong playing the sweep. He played the wrong line.
yeah, I'd say actually, Stricker Barrett's he paced his innings kind of weirdly. Like he
Mm.
was he almost wanted to do a Stokes, I felt, because he started off, very, very slow, got himself in, absorbed a lot of pressure, and then he wanted to accelerate, but he almost went straight from being on the defensive to suddenly ultra aggressive, and I don't think it really suited him in that. I don't know, in that role. I think he could have gone a bit more steady, picked his deliveries, played more positively, and come away with quite a big score. So, but yeah, I think of all of them, his was kind of one of the better. Like, it was the only ball really that I thought was actually earned to wicket.
Yeah.
And then Ravi Ashwin, I was just terrible communication. So
Yeah.
it was, it was, yeah, pretty soft from Indian batters, but they all got scores. They all did pretty well, and I'd say it's pretty safe that England are not going to be able to get enough of a lead to make India chase at this rate. That India have got a lead of 175. Um, if England got 250 in the second or in the third innings of the match, I'd be quite surprised.
Yeah.
So, I don't think India are going to be in any trouble here. Um, so it'll be interesting to see. But the Indian bowlers took the game away from England early, and the Indian batters have just completely put their foot down, and they've been so aggressive, and it has been entertaining,
Yeah.
even though every shot is like a dagger through your heart. As a fan, as a lover of cricket, it is entertaining, and I think it's almost easier to take than the slow death of like 2 runs and over the space of 3 days.
Mm. Yeah.
Uh, Against New Zealand a couple of years ago, that was rough because it was just Devon Conway plodding along really slowly.
Yeah.
Whereas this is a bit more like, well, it's because they're just playing really well.
Yeah.
It's not just,
I also
uncomfortable and yeah.
I also think that England's bowlers are giving away quite a lot of opportunities for India to score.
Yeah.
Um, Other than Jack Leach, who has that experience of holding an end, the rest of them aren't experienced enough to kind of pull things back. And in a way, whereas you see in England, the bowlers like Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum were very conscious of we need to attack, and if we go for runs, that's fine. Which is fine when you're playing in England, but in India, when you've got experienced spinners, I don't think the spinners are trying to go for runs or trying to attack. They're just trying to bowl well. And I think
Mm,
that's the difference because if you look at 2012, 12 years ago now, when England toured India, Graham Swan and Monty Panesar were so experienced. Graham Swan had already been playing Test cricket for 4 or 5 years. We'll ignore his debut back in a long time ago, but he'd been in the county system for at least 15 years before that tour. Monty Panesar had been in the Test side for 6, 7 years and was very experienced in county cricket. He'd been playing for longer, and all they did was bowl incredibly well, and that was enough on those Indian pitches. And you look at this pitch, it's a spinning pitch. It's not easy for the batsman, as we saw in England's innings, if bowlers bowl well. And what we saw with India's bowlers in comparison with England's bowlers is their ability to consistently bowl good balls. I saw some good balls from England, definitely. There were some balls that turned past the bat, some balls that caused issues for the batsman, but they weren't consistent enough to build pressure and get on top of the opposition. And you can
mm,
tell just by looking at the scorecard, other than the stupid run out between Ashwin and Jadeja, every partnership, there's been a partnership every single wicket, which just reads like England haven't been on top at all with the ball in this game. And it's because they haven't been able to build pressure. I mean, Joe Root's he's the bowler that looks most threatening. Jack Leach just looks like he's going to bowl and not go for many runs. Rayan Ahmed, I feel like could get better. And Tom Hartley as well, I feel could get better. And I don't know if we're just kind of thinking this tour, let's just hope that throughout the series that our spinners just get better and better because of the fact that Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes, they're going to give them opportunities. They're not going to think, oh, you bowled terribly for 3 overs, would take you off. So that, in a way, is a bit of encouragement for me. I'm not sure on your thoughts on England's bowling, James.
It's the lengths have been a big issue, and
Yeah,
I
sure.
completely agree with what you've said. I don't think the Indian bowlers have particularly thought, oh, let's be super aggressive here. They've bowled relatively normally, but they've been able to be wily. They've been able to outthink the batters, whereas in England's bowlers, they haven't been able to set batters up because there is a long hop in every over. There is a full toss every other over at least, which means that the pressure is never on the batsman because they are getting a freebie boundary regularly. And it does mean that it is really difficult for England to build any pressure to set up a batsman, and it doesn't even look like they've got any variations. Like Ashwin, um, he he obviously plays his carom ball. He'll play his off break. He'll have top spinners and cutters and all that sort of stuff. Like he obviously has a lot of variations, but every ball is on that spot. It's on the right line and it's on a good length. And length is the biggest thing when you're a spinner. And I look at Tom Hartley and I think, you know, your lengths aren't super consistent, which should be an absolute necessity if you're going to bowl in Test cricket. But even then, I don't see him doing anything else with the ball. Like Jack Leach, he doesn't really turn it. He doesn't do a whole lot with the ball, but at least he's consistent with his lengths, and that's why he hasn't gone for many runs. Tom Hartley also isn't doing anything with the ball. He gets slightly more turn, but he doesn't. He never throws in one that skids on or an arm ball or anything. So the fact that the most threatening looking spinner and the one that's had the most sort of LBW shouts or beating the bat is Joe Root, our batter.
Yeah.
Really, he's not really an all rounder. He shouldn't really be an all rounder, not as much as he has been. And he is, yeah, our best, our most threatening looking spinner.
Yeah.
So, do you think that England made a mistake in playing as many spinners as they did?
It's hard to look at that really. I would say I'm gonna say yes in the fact that I think someone like James Anderson would have, if he'd bowled as many overs as Tom Hartley, would have got more wickets and gone for less runs. With the same, if he bowled exactly the same overs as Tom Hartley, I just think that that's definitely going to be the case. Obviously, James Anderson wouldn't be able to bowl 25 overs in a day like Tom Hartley could, but I think that there's that. However, if there was a better bowler, someone with more experience, let's say you go back 10 years and you transport Graham Swan or Monty Panesar into the future, then yeah, pick 4 spinners. I think it's the wicket for it. You see Mohammad Siraj in the first innings, he barely got a bowl because he wasn't needed. And so what it shows is that there's been no experience or decent spin coming through the England system. And that's a systematic issue that's deeper than this. So England spinners are learning in the toughest place to learn, really, and that's going to be hard, especially when you look at the World Test Championship. I mean, England's first 5 Test matches were against Australia, the best Test team in the world. Yes, they had them at home, but still. And then they've got 5 Test matches against India, and we're already sitting 9th or 10th in the table. I mean, it's not looking good. But we've got to stay optimistic. I mean, we're only 2 days in. India have done well. England have started poorly and not really had chance to get into things. So who knows what's going to happen? But
It,
at the moment,
um,
India look very strong.
yeah, and it's while it is obviously looking bleak for England, I'm still excited,
Mm,
like to watch the next day, and that is a sign that it's entertaining cricket at the moment, and B, there is always a bit of optimism with this Bazball side, which is quite nice. You know,
for
I
sure.
the Ashes of 2021, I I would look forward to the start of the Test match, and then sort of two days in, I'd be like, "Oh, I'm dreading watching the next day because I just know that we're going to get absolutely battered here." Whereas now, at least there's that slither of hope that, oh, maybe we'll put on a 600 runs in a day.
Yeah.
That it produces silly things like that. But if you're an Indian fan, you've got to be happy. So as a way to celebrate, you should subscribe, and you should become a member as well. That's an absolute necessity, isn't it?
Yeah. There's just one other thing. Just going into the rest of the test match, I don't know if Jack Leach is able to bowl again because he has got a niggle in his right, well, one of his knees. He's got a niggle,
Oh
and there's
dear.
a likelihood that he's not going to be able to bowl in the rest of the test match. So hopefully that's not too serious because we need him this series. If England are gonna turn things around for sure. Um, but yeah, keep watching, keep supporting. We Like James said, I'm also looking forward to the next day. Even if India win 5-0, it's still going to be good cricket. And that's what we're looking to react to. So keep it coming, keep the support coming. Let us know what you think in the comments. If you haven't already, follow us on social media. All the links are in the link tree down below. And if you're out and about, you can also listen to them on Spotify or any podcasting sites. We're all there. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.